The moment the news broke, it didn't feel like just another quiet Hollywood business decision. It felt like a verdict whispered for years behind executive doors, but finally spoken out loud where everyone could hear it. Netflix didn't simply walk away from a partnership. They slammed the door on what was supposed to be Meghan Markle's grand lifestyle empire. And when a streaming giant with over 230 million subscribers decides a project isn't worth another year of support, the message echoes far beyond boardrooms. Suddenly, the same question began circulating everywhere, from Hollywood agencies to entertainment journalists to investors quietly watching from the sidelines. If Netflix couldn't make Meghan Markle's brand work, who exactly could? Because the collapse of this deal didn't come quietly. It came with sharp commentary, brutal industry whispers, and one particularly devastating phrase that cut through the noise like a knife. Eric Schiffer, chairman of Reputation Management Consultants, didn't sugarcoat the situation when speaking publicly. In fact, he detonated it. According to Schiffer, Meghan Markle's brand had become, in his words, rat poison for executives who are already gunchy. Think about that for a moment. That's not a random critic on social media throwing insults from a comment section. That's a professional whose entire career revolves around understanding how Hollywood decision-makers evaluate risk. When someone like that starts publicly declaring a celebrity brand toxic, something deeper is happening beneath the surface. The kind of thing that makes investors quietly step away before the cameras even notice. Schiffer didn't stop there. He described Markle's entire venture with Netflix as celebrity brand suicide in a cashmere apron, comparing the concept to a pale imitation of Martha Stewart's empire, a copy without the cultural weight, a lifestyle brand without the loyal lifestyle audience. And before anyone dismisses this as tabloid exaggeration, consider the reality behind it. PR professionals rarely torch potential clients publicly. In fact, they almost never do, unless they've already written them off completely.
Eric Schiffer, who's the chairman of Reputational Management Consultants, told them that Netflix cutting ties with Meghan's lifestyle brand sends a pretty brutal signal to the marketplace.
Once that comment hit the press, the conversation shifted from speculation to pattern recognition, because the Netflix fallout didn't happen in isolation. It joined a growing list of high-profile partnerships that started with enormous hype and ended with awkward silence. First there was Spotify, then Lemonada, and now Netflix. Each breakup louder than the last. Each departure followed by the same narrative from Markle's camp, that her partner simply couldn't keep up with her vision. But at a certain point, people start asking an uncomfortable question. When three major media companies walk away from the same collaboration, is the problem really all three companies? Or is the common denominator sitting right in the middle of the deal? Netflix's official statement was crafted with the kind of corporate politeness that says everything without appearing to say anything. The company explained that the partnership ended because the show did not go on, so it did not make sense to continue. On the surface, it sounded neutral, but inside Hollywood circles, everyone understood the translation. When a show does not go on, it means the numbers didn't justify the investment. And the numbers matter more than headlines, more than royal connections, more than carefully curated branding. The show in question, with Love, Meghan, was supposed to launch something far bigger than a television series. It was meant to be the foundation of a lifestyle empire. Netflix wasn't just streaming content. They were building retail infrastructure around it. Plans were already underway to create as-ever sections inside Netflix house locations in Philadelphia and Dallas. Physical spaces designed to sell products connected to Markle's brand. That means the company wasn't just betting on a show. They were betting on an entire commercial ecosystem built around Meghan Markle's identity as a lifestyle entrepreneur. Then the viewership numbers came in. The audience reaction followed. And quietly, one by one, those plans began to disappear. The retail sections vanished. The expansion plans evaporated. The show simply did not go on. In corporate language, that phrase can hide a lot. But in this case, it meant something brutally simple. Netflix looked at the data and decided to cut their losses. Yet what made the entire situation even more fascinating was the counter-story emerging from Markle's side. According to insiders close to the Duchess, she wasn't pushed out at all. She walked away. The explanation? Netflix was supposedly holding her brand back. She wanted to take as ever global, they said. Expand internationally. Build something bigger. And somehow, the streaming company operating in more than 190 countries wasn't capable of helping her achieve that vision. The claim left industry insiders scratching their heads, because Netflix isn't just global. It's one of the most globally recognized brands on earth. Suggesting they lack international infrastructure is like suggesting an airline can't fly overseas.
Netflix has officially pulled the plug on its partnership with Meghan Markle's polarizing lifestyle brand as ever, dealing another blow to brand Sussex. For Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the Netflix era has been a pretty major disappointment for the platform.
Inside Netflix headquarters, the response to that narrative was reportedly disbelief mixed with irritation. Sources suggested executives were frustrated by the implication that the company had somehow limited Markle's potential when the reality was far simpler. The audience simply wasn't responding. According to reports from insiders speaking to media outlets, when Netflix explored creating as-ever retail spaces in their experiential venues, they ran into a problem nobody in Markle's camp wanted to address. There was no appetite for it, and that comparison revealed the entire gap between expectation and reality. Netflix builds merchandise empires around properties that ignite genuine cultural obsession. Squid Game, Stranger Things, Bridgerton, shows that generate massive fandoms eager to buy products connected to the worlds they love. But as ever, didn't generate that kind of energy. It produced conversation, yes, curiosity, criticism, but curiosity doesn't sell merchandise. Loyalty does. And loyalty was exactly what the brand struggled to produce. Meanwhile, the financial commitment behind the project had been enormous. Netflix didn't just distribute Markle's show, they became equity partners in the brand itself. They invested real money, real infrastructure, and real retail strategy around the idea that Meghan Markle could anchor a commercial lifestyle empire. That bet failed. And once the halo of Netflix backing disappeared, the question echoing through Hollywood became unavoidable. If the biggest streaming platform on the planet couldn't make the brand work, what exactly was left behind when the spotlight faded? The collapse of the Netflix partnership didn't just close a business chapter. It exposed a pattern that had been quietly building for years. And the deeper people in the industry looked, the harder it became to ignore that pattern. Because Netflix wasn't the first high-profile partner to walk away from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's media empire. Before Netflix came Spotify, the podcast deal that was supposed to transform their voices into global influence. The contract was massive, the expectations even bigger. Multiple seasons, exclusive content, a powerful storytelling platform. What actually emerged was a single season of archetypes. One season. After that, silence. Then came the infamous remark from a Spotify executive who privately referred to the Sussexes as grifters, a comment that quickly leaked and spread across entertainment media like wildfire. It was embarrassing. But more importantly, it signaled something dangerous in Hollywood: frustration from the people writing the checks. After Spotify ended the relationship, Markle shifted her podcast ambitions to Lemonada Media, a much smaller network that promised to revive the project. Yet even that collaboration quietly faded without creating the kind of cultural impact originally promised. And now Netflix, the biggest partner of them all, had stepped away as well. 3 major platforms, 3 partnerships, 3 endings that looked increasingly similar when placed side by side. Each breakup followed by the same explanation from Markle's camp: the partners didn't understand her vision. Spotify lacked patience. Lemonada lacked scale. Netflix lacked ambition. But eventually that narrative begins to sound less like explanation and more like deflection. Eric Schiffer's analysis cut directly into that uncomfortable reality. According to him, repeated professional breakups leave what he called a repulsive scent. He described Markle's reputation in executive circles as the scent of high-maintenance disappointment. That phrase traveled quickly through media coverage because it captured something Hollywood understands very well: reputation. In an industry where relationships determine everything, reputation moves faster than contracts. Executives talk to each other. Producers compare notes. Investors quietly exchange impressions before committing to any deal. And when the same name appears repeatedly in stories of failed partnerships, the perception begins to solidify. The damage doesn't happen in public. It happens in private conversations before the meeting even starts. At the center of this situation sits an even more uncomfortable question: the one about audience. Because a brand can survive controversy, it can survive criticism, but it cannot survive a lack of demand. Schiffer suggested something that many analysts have been hinting at for years: Hollywood buyers should seriously question whether Meghan Markle actually has a real consumer audience. Not followers, not headlines, not curiosity, but customers. Millions of social media followers should theoretically translate into millions of potential buyers. Yet the products tied to Markle's ventures have repeatedly struggled to move beyond hype into measurable commercial success. With Love, Meghan generated conversation conversation online. Critics discussed it, commentators analyzed it, but conversation does not automatically become loyalty, and loyalty is what sells products. Netflix understood that difference better than anyone. When they build merchandising ecosystems around shows like Squid Game or Stranger Things, they are responding to genuine fan obsession. Fans don't just watch those shows, they want to inhabit the world around them. They buy clothing, collectibles, decorations. They turn the brand into identity. The lifestyle brand, as ever, never generated that level of enthusiasm. Instead, it generated memes, parodies, clips of Markle demonstrating simple kitchen tricks like transferring store, bought pretzels into decorative bags tied with ribbon. The aesthetic was polished, but the cultural reaction leaned toward mockery rather than aspiration. That is a devastating problem for any lifestyle brand, because lifestyle branding depends entirely on aspiration. People must want the life you represent. Without that desire, the packaging becomes decoration without substance. The Netflix partnership had originally provided something extremely valuable for Markle's post-royal ambitions: legitimacy. When the world's most powerful streaming platform invests millions in your brand, other investors assume the risk has already been vetted. Netflix's involvement acted like a stamp of credibility. It told the market that Meghan Markle wasn't just a celebrity experimenting with entrepreneurship. She was a serious commercial bet. But once Netflix walked away, that signal flipped in the opposite direction. Investors who once saw validation now see caution. If Netflix couldn't make the brand profitable with its global reach and infrastructure, smaller investors must ask themselves a brutal question: why would they succeed where Netflix failed? That is why Schiffer described the loss of Netflix as potentially the kiss of death for future large-scale deals. Not because Markle will never secure another partnership, but because the scale of those partnerships will likely shrink. Instead of multi-million-dollar bets on empire building, future deals may become smaller endorsements or limited collaborations. The era of massive speculative investment based on potential rather than performance appears to be ending. Now speculation has begun circulating about Markle's next move. Reports suggest she may travel to Australia in the near future, despite the country's media historically treating her with skepticism since the 2018 royal tour. Some observers believe the trip could involve meetings with potential international investors, an attempt to secure new backing after American entertainment companies stepped away. If that is the strategy, the pitch will face immediate scrutiny, because every investor will inevitably ask the same question: what happened with Netflix? And any answer will collide with the same visible pattern. Spotify ended the podcast deal. Lemonada failed to revive it. Netflix withdrew from the lifestyle partnership. Patterns like that are difficult to explain away because the evidence speaks louder than the narrative surrounding it, which brings everything back to the phrase that started this entire controversy: rat poison for executives. In business language, that phrase doesn't mean permanent failure. It means perceived risk. And once a brand becomes associated with risk rather than opportunity, every future negotiation becomes harder. Investors hesitate. Partnerships shrink. The whispers begin before the meeting even begins. In Hollywood, reputation often determines opportunity long before talent or ambition can enter the conversation. And right now, the reputation following Meghan Markle into those rooms may be louder than any pitch she brings with her.